Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Here live at the Saugus Veterans Council Memorial Day Parade on WMEX Saugus TV, of course 101.1 FM out in Quincy, and online at WMEXBoston.com. Your friend Ben Rabinovitz alongside Joe Matarazzo. Thank you for coming out here and joining us today, Joe. A solemn day, but a beautiful day to honor and remember our fallen veterans.
It's such a privilege and an honor to be here with WMEX and you, Ben, and all the great people of Saugus. This is an amazing day. I can't get over. There's not a cloud in the sky. This is absolutely perfect today.
It really is. It's a very special day for all of us here at Winter Street. We're right on the corner outside of Riverside Cemetery, and the parade route will be coming right across this very intersection in just about a half hour from now. 10 o'clock, the parade steps off just up the street here from the Anna Parker Playground, and that's where they have everything lined up, Joe, and ready to go. And of course, a solemn occasion here today. As we prepare for that parade, we actually have some wonderful interviews from folks here in Saugus and the North Shore at large who are going to share some of their stories of veterans of yesterday. I'd like to introduce very first on our list the Veteran Service Officer here in Saugus, Paul Cancelleri, and he's going to tell us about a veteran right now. Paul?
Hey, Ben, good morning. My name is Paul, as you mentioned, and I've been a Veteran Service Officer for about a year now. In the town of Saugus. I'm a resident of the town of Wakefield, Massachusetts. Served in the United States military for a period of 24 years on active duty as a infantry officer. And I just want to kind of share with you on Memorial Day. It is a unique day. It's a day of remembrance. And I think about many soldiers that were killed in the service to our nation. And Ben, this morning I would like to just share one or two stories, some really great troops who were recently killed in action and made the ultimate sacrifice for their country. Going back to 2004, it was Palm Sunday when my phone rang next to my bed at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I was here in Massachusetts as an instructor teaching downtown in Boston with the ROTC programs at Northeastern University and Boston University and Boston College. The call came from the United States Army Casualty Assistance Center at Fort Drum, New York. Sergeant Daniel J. Landano. He was a paratrooper serving in Baghdad, Iraq, with the 1st Battalion, 504th Infantry Regiment of the 82nd Airborne Division during the Gulf War. He was killed in action, and I received instructions to notify the next of kin. The phone conversation was brief, and my colleague and I had little time to collect the information that was needed to notify the next of kin by 8 o'clock in the morning, less than 6 hours from the initial call. So we drove to Dorchester that sunny morning, and we parked just outside Sergeant Landano's home of record. His mother was listed as the next of kin, and I rang the bell, and his sister Diana answered the door. And we had just missed Mrs. Landano, who was at work at the local flower shop preparing flowers for the local church for the Easter Sunday services. And Diana was terrified. And she was terrified, and she left the apartment to physically go get her mother at the flower shop. Sergeant Landano was in a military vehicle in Baghdad with Staff Sergeant Clint D. Farron, 31 of Picayune, Mississippi, and POC Joel K. Bratan, 21 of Santa Ana, California, when an improvised explosive device struck the vehicle, killing all 3 soldiers. Daniel joined the Army after graduating from Archbishop Williams High School in Braintree in 2000. His family said that Daniel had always expressed an interest in the Army as a child, but he joined primarily to help his mother and his sister financially. He wanted to protect the country, but he also wanted to make a better life for himself. The only way that he could go to college was to join the Army. Daniel is 22 years old. He was killed 3 weeks before his 23rd birthday. He last saw his family at Christmas in 2003, and he spoke with his mom a week before he was killed. He served in both Afghanistan and in Iraq. Sergeant Londano is buried in Cedar Grove Cemetery. And I never met Sergeant Londano, but today, on Memorial Day, I honor Daniel Staff Sergeant Clint D. Farron, PFC Joel K. Brattain, and of course, Sergeant Londano and his family.
Folks, if you're listening out there and you have a veteran in your family, reach out to your local Veteran Service office. They're there to help. Paul, I'm sure you'll agree. There's always time to help.
Absolutely. And Ben, just thank you very much for doing this. For those families who have lived through the sacrifice and for those families that we support during Memorial Day to remember their honorable service to our nation. Thank you.
Paul Cancelleri, the Veteran Service Officer here in Saugus, and we're going to hear from Paul again a little later on this afternoon as he continues to share stories of local veterans who gave the ultimate sacrifice in the defense of liberty and freedom for the citizens of these United States. And a day like today, Joe, again, we remember all those that have fallen in battle, whether it be combat, whether it be years later following combat, because let's be honest, the scars from war never truly heal.
No, they don't. They're deep, and they do open every year around this time when we think of all of our loved ones, all the people that made the ultimate sacrifice in order for us to live the way we are today. I mean, everything that we have that we hold dear, we have to honor the men and women of the armed services that laid their life down in order for us to be free and live the way we live today.
And of course, service doesn't stop just when Uncle Sam says so. When you're a United States veteran, you are a veteran for life. And that is an honorable tag that folks will take with them no matter what realm or plane of being they ever find themselves on. We had an opportunity to catch up with the commander of the Saugus Veteran Council, Steve Castanetti, and we're going to hear from Steve right now. Your friend Ben Rabinovitz here live at the Saugus Veterans Council Memorial Day Parade, paying honor and tribute to all those who served in the United States military and never made it out of the uniform, or in some cases wore the uniform so long that the earth needed it back. And today we're joined by the commander of the Saugus Veterans Council, Steve Castanetti, retired U.S. Navy captain. Thank you, sir, for, first of all, your service and your continued service to the veterans and citizens of Saugus. And on this Memorial Day weekend, as we get ready for the parade to get underway, if you could share with us some of the thoughts that you have and who you're remembering this weekend.
You know, Ben, this is probably the most solemn of all military holidays. This is the day that we remember all of those who made the ultimate sacrifice in all of our wars. Saugus especially has some notable recipients of that recognition, the number one being Staff Sergeant Arthur DeFranzo, who was killed in World War II and was awarded the Medal of Honor. In addition, we have the Kasabuski brothers, who were killed within a couple of weeks of each other. And the ice skating rink here in Saugus is named after the Kasabuskis. We also have three that we lost in Vietnam. And most recently, we lost one in the war over in the Gulf area, over in Iraq. Corporal Procopio was killed. But it's like 18 years ago now. So time does go by, but we never forget those who did make the ultimate sacrifice.
Harry Truman once said, "Our debt to the heroic men and valiant women in the service of our country can never be repaid. They have earned our undying gratitude and respect. And for that, America will never forget their sacrifices." That statement has never felt more true, especially as we gather here for this parade to honor their lives and their sacrifices. What does that mean to you?
Well, like you mentioned in the beginning, people who wore the uniform for a long time. A lot of the people who remember today didn't die in action. They did not make the ultimate sacrifice in combat, but they wore that uniform for many, many years and have finally passed on. And we remember all of them as well because whether people know it or not, everybody in the military does make a lot of sacrifices. It's not like living at home. You know, you live in conditions that you wouldn't normally live at home. You don't have all the luxuries that we have today. So people are sacrificing every single day for those of us that stay home and don't ever have to worry about being put into a combat situation. But those that have passed on, again, we do remember all of them on this Memorial Day. I don't want to say unfortunately, but Memorial Day has kind of morphed into a holiday that remembers anyone that died. But the original intention of it was to remember those who paid the ultimate sacrifice in combat. But today, we will remember everyone and anyone who did wear that uniform at some point and has passed on.
Of course, many names come to mind, even more come to the heart. Steve, who are you remembering this weekend specifically?
Well, you know, it's funny you ask that because where we set the podium at Veterans Park, and I do the ceremony, just to my right, a young kid is buried. Well, he was a young kid when he died in Vietnam. His name is Walter Olinsky. Wally and I grew up together in North Revere. And Wally was the type of kid that you wouldn't picture ever being in a combat situation. He was very young. He was very easygoing, quiet, kept to himself. We were Cub Scouts together and Boy Scouts, and we just grew up living just a couple of streets apart for our whole life. But back in the 60s, he got drafted, became a helicopter pilot, and Wally was shot down twice. Survived the first one, but the second one took his life. And I believe he was only 21 at the time. So I always remember Wally Olinsky on this Memorial Day, and he's right beside me throughout the entire ceremony.
Steve, thank you so much for what you do for your service and to the service of the town of Saugus and her veterans.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate it. And I always finish off with one word. Remember.
Strong words from Commander Steve Casanetti. He will be with us later on today. Folks, again, if you're hearing this broadcast, you're getting ready for the Saugus Veterans Council Memorial Day Parade here live on WMEX, and you will be able to see this on Saugus TV just the same. A beautiful day to relive these beautiful moments. And Joe, again, thank you for joining us here today as we do our part in remembering the local veterans who gave all for us.
It's just an amazing day. It's a very somber day, but at the same time, you know, this is a celebration of life, a celebration of how we live. And we need to celebrate these true American heroes. You know, the kids nowadays, they put so much stock in the athletes that are out there and, you know, the actors and the TikTokers and all that. Guys, please, you need to understand what a real hero is. And a real hero is a man or a woman who dresses in that uniform and stands in front and run into where we're running out of.
That's right. Well put. And the danger of life is always upon us. It's always ever ready to strike. And it's the folks that make sure safety is the utmost importance. It's the first line responders.
Right.
It's the veterans. It's the active service members. And make no mistake, everybody has the appropriate holiday to celebrate the appropriate rank. Today is the day to remember those who have fallen, whether it be in battle, on the front lines, serving abroad, or they served so long that Mother Nature needed that uniform back the old-fashioned way. And as Commander Casanetti said, the holiday originally started off to remember only those who had fallen in battle, but now here in 2024, we remember all that are no longer with us. We all have family, friends, people in our circles that either are veterans themselves or have veterans in their family. Nobody is away from this circle, and that's one of the things that brings this community together every single day. And that's why we're here, to pay respect to the honored dead.
And that's why it's such an honor for me to be here, part of WMEX family, and with you, Ben. And you know, we've done a lot of fun things, and this is a very special thing that we get to do today.
It is a very special thing. I'm honored to be able to share it with you, Joe, with all the good people here of Saugus and all of New England that turns out for all of these Memorial Day events all weekend long, in some cases all week long. Plenty of communities had their ceremonies earlier this week. And it's impossible for everybody to be in one place at one time. So I really like that we spread this out and we give these veterans the time and credit that they are more than owed.
Absolutely, and that's what it comes down to. We just have to remember why we're celebrating this Memorial Day and what it stands for.
And on that note, we're going to turn it back over to the Veteran Service Officer here in Saugus, Paul Cancelleri. He's going to share another story of a local veteran.
So, Ben, thank you very much for having me. Memorial Day is truly a very important day for our country. I just want to share a story of another individual that I learned of, who was killed in April of 2007. And after retiring from military service, I learned of another loss, Captain Anthony Palermo. Anthony was killed in action on April 6, 2007, while serving during Operation Iraqi Freedom. Anthony was just 26, from Brockton, Massachusetts. He was killed in Baghdad when an improvised explosive device detonated near his vehicle during combat operations. Also killed were Specialist Ryan Dullum from Norma, Oklahoma, and Ryan was a third-generation Army soldier. The IED took out a third soldier, Private Domain Lopez Rodriguez. He was 19, from Tucson, Arizona. Damien was a native from Nogales, Mexico. And Damien was in a program signed by President Bush to speed up the naturalization process for immigrants who serve in the military during wartime. Damien was granted his citizenship posthumously. Captain Anthony Palermo. Anthony was one of my cadets that I educated and commissioned through the Army ROTC programs in Boston. And these soldiers were serving in the 1st Infantry Division, the very same division that I had served in on my first assignment as a second lieutenant. And today, I honor Anthony Palermo, Specialist Ryan Dullum, and Private Domain Lopez Rodriguez on Memorial Day in 2024. Thank you very much, Ben, for giving me an opportunity to share these names of these soldiers and their service to our nation. My advice to somebody right now that may be in need of services is, the first thing is, talk to another veteran. Have a conversation veteran to veteran. I think there's a lot of merit to doing that. There's common ground there. The most important piece of common ground that I have found within the veteran community is an element of trust. It's an element of trust because we all took an oath. It doesn't matter about the rank. It doesn't matter about the service. But it is that element of trust. And we normally work very hard not to violate that trust. Part of the code, part of the oath that we take to our country to serve the Constitution and support the Constitution of the United States. That would be my number one piece. I would also recommend getting in touch with your local veteran service office and just having a conversation with your local VSO in your cities and towns. But thank you, Ben, for taking the opportunity to listen to the stories and the stories of soldiers that have served our country honorably. And again, thank you very much for honoring the families of those service members that passed away.
Paul Cancelleri, the Veteran Service Officer here in Saugus, and just what a great representative of the VSOs. And folks, if you're not familiar with your local Veteran Service Officer, look them up. Every town, every city, every community has at least one. Depending on the size of your community, there's oftentimes 2 or 3. Their whole purpose, Joe, as I'm sure you're aware, to help the veterans get the services that they are owed and that are due.
Exactly, and they do help out a lot with the paperwork because there is a lot of paperwork that is involved, and when you get the right the right person behind there that could help, it makes things go so much smoother with the VA and such like that. Because there are so many good services, and a lot of the vets probably don't even know, because unfortunately, when they come back, I don't want to say that they're left behind, but in a way, they're kind of left on their own. And so they need to understand these outreach programs that are out there for them, that the veterans, that they have guys like Paul that can help them and guide them in the right way. And it's crucial when they're coming back into civilian life.
It really is. And I believe it was Harry Truman that once said, the best way to honor the dead is to care for the living. Exactly. And that's exactly why these veteran service officers are so important. They are the ones connecting the dots for these veterans. And let's be honest, there are so many service-related injuries out there. Veterans suffering on the daily basis because they don't want to take those services away from someone else. And what they really have trouble understanding is that Uncle Sam already paid for those services. Your service is what guarantees them. And if you are a veteran yourself and you have not contacted the VA or your veteran service officer, we beg you, we implore you, please do. They are there to help, and that's all they want to do. Speaking of helping people, and the veterans specifically, Selectman Corrine Riley caught up with us yesterday before this parade and told us about her father, who was a World War II veteran. Here live at the Saugus Veterans Council Memorial Day Parade, joined now on the phone by Selectman Corrine Riley, and she's also a volunteer here at the Saugus Veterans Council. On Memorial Day weekend, we remember so many different family members, so many different servicemen and women. Who comes to mind for you when you think of all the families and friends here in Saugus on Memorial Day?
The first person that comes to my mind is my dad. I lost my father in 2016. At the ripe age of 90, which I'm glad I had him as long as we did. He was a World War II veteran. He was in the Pacific on the USS Astoria in the Navy. He did not talk about it a lot when I was younger. I really heard more about the war after I was older. They just didn't like to talk about it. He was definitely the greatest generation. I was Daddy's little girl, and I just had such respect, and he was my hero. And but being a veteran of World War II, when I was growing up, he always told us about Pearl Harbor. His birthday was on Pearl Harbor Day, and we always decorated the Christmas tree on the Pearl Harbor Day on his birthday, but he never let us forget what happened on that day when the United States was invaded. It would bring tears to his eyes, even after all the years. When he heard taps, he would just break down. You know, he lost a lot of shipmates. He lost people that he went, that he knew in school from East Boston. He had gone in from East Boston into the Navy. He tried to have my grandfather sign permission for him to go to war when he was 17. And my grandfather wouldn't hear of it and wouldn't allow him to do that. But as soon as he turned 18, he had joined. He loved America. He loved the military when he was in it. He worked hard. All the things that he used to tell me, things that happened again on the ship in the Navy when he was and I was older. You know, it makes you really think. When he was on the USS Astoria, he was in the Pacific, and they had sent his ship in to take on fire away from another ship that was going down. So they would just start shooting at them or bombing them. So to me, like I said, he was a hero. He did what he was supposed to do. He was, again, worked very hard for his family. He always, I've been always proud of him. He just was the best. You always hear the same story every time we'd have lobsters and there'd be a claw missing. And he'd always say, the only animal that blows back a claw. You know, he would say that all the time. It was just one of his go-to things. But he was more of a person that always taught us to, one, Only get things that you can afford. Never get into debt, and never get something that someone can take away from you. That was his biggest thing, especially, at the beginning when I was, getting married and my own expenses coming up. He always said, never let someone be able to take away anything from you.
Some people live their entire lifetime and wonder if they ever made a difference in the world. The veteran does not have that problem. Corinne, thank you so much for telling us about your father this Memorial Day weekend. And one of the best things that folks can remember is the best way to honor the dead is to take care of the living. And thank you very much, Corinne, for doing everything that you do for the town of Saugus and all of the veterans that call it home. Thank you so much for your time with us today.
Thank you.
Selectman Corinne Riley, and absolute pleasure to be able to speak with her and get her thoughts on this holy holiday that we hold so dear to our hearts. It's all about the veterans who have passed on today, and again, keeping their memories and their stories alive. That is the job of we, the people, the grateful citizens of all of the branches of military service, because let's be honest, Joe, they're the ones that guarantee that we, the people, will hopefully never have to see the horrors of war.
Yeah, absolutely. And you brought it up earlier saying that, almost everybody has someone in their family that has served or has been lost on the battlefield. And some of the battles, when we lose them, they start on the battlefield, but we don't lose them until later on, years later sometimes. And in my own immediate family, between myself and my wife, there's 17 members of our families that have all served at one time or another.
Wow. And the same in my family. I don't think it's quite 17, but I can tell you from every household represented in the family, there is at least 2 veterans that either lived or currently live within those homes. We're going to go once again over to Paul Cancelleri. He's going to share with us another story of another local veteran here live on WMEX and Saugus TV for the Saugus Veterans Council Memorial Day Parade.
Ben, thank you very much for taking a moment to listen to some stories of service members who served honorably in our nation. I just want to share this morning with you another soldier that's very close to all of us here in Wakefield. Staff Sergeant Joseph P. Bellavia, age 28. Joseph was assigned to the 716th Military Police Battalion of the 101st Airborne Division in the Air Assault. He's based in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. He was killed on October 16, 2003, while attempting to negotiate with armed men who were congregating on a road near a mosque after curfew in Karbala, Iraq. Also killed in the attack were Lieutenant Colonel Kim Orlando, who was 43 of Tennessee, the commanding officer of the 716th, and Corporal Sean Greeley, 24 of San Bernardino, California. 7 other U.S. soldiers were wounded in that engagement. Joseph comes from a military family. His father is a retired lieutenant colonel, and one of his grandfathers served in the United States Navy during World War II. Joseph's wife, Christina, is a Gold Star wife, married only 3 years to Joseph. Joseph is buried in Arlington National Cemetery. Today, I honor Joseph Bellavia on Memorial Day. I also honor Lieutenant Colonel Kim Orlando and Corporal Sean Greeley. The global war on terror began in September 11, 2001, and some report that it ended in August of 2021. During the withdrawal of Kabul in Afghanistan, many will argue that the global war on terror didn't end during that operation. The global war on terror spanned 4 presidential administrations, 2 Democratic and 2 Republican administrations. And the global war on terror, the total killed is estimated to be 7,054, with over 60,000 casualties. Today, during Memorial Day, I do remember many, many more, and I just want to say thank you for letting me share my story about Joseph Bellavia and the people that were with him during that engagement back in October 16th, 2003. So today I remember and honor Joseph Bellavia, who was killed in action October 16, 2003, while attempting to negotiate with armed men in Iraq. Thank you, Ben.
And again, thank you, Paul Cancelleri, the Saugus Veteran Service Officer, sharing stories of veterans that passed while serving this country. And as we get ready for the Memorial Day Parade to kick off here in Saugus, again, folks, we're over here at 193 Winter Street opposite the Riverside Cemetery, where at the conclusion of this parade, there will be a ceremony hosted by the commander of the Saugus Veteran Council, Steve Castanetti, as we heard from him earlier, looking very sharp today in his full white uniform with at least 7 pounds of medals on the chest, and that's how you know.
Right.
That's how you know. And he's a great guy. He really does so much for the community, and he had so much to say about everybody that volunteered here today, the parade committee, all the folks that have gotten involved in the execution of this day. And make no mistake, folks, these things do not just happen. It is a calculated logistical operation, and one that we the people appreciate so very, very much. And as we get ready for that parade, it is coming up along the street here. We've just been told they're a few minutes away. I'd like to introduce Gene Decaro. He is a 94-year-old Korean War veteran himself. He has a wonderful story that he shared with us yesterday. That is available online right now at WMEXBoston.com. Click on the story, you can't miss it, right on the front page, and you can listen to that full interview whenever you'd like. But Gene tells such an amazing story. 94 years on this earth, and over 50 of them in service of the United States. And I want to share with you a poem that he shared with us yesterday that was given to him in 1947. And this is called Just a Second.
It's called Just a Minute. Have you ever heard it?
I have not.
Okay. I have only just a minute. Only 60 seconds in it. Forced upon me, can't refuse it. Didn't seek it, didn't choose it. But it's up to me to use it. I must suffer if I lose it. Give account if I abuse it. Just a tiny little minute, but eternity is in it. May your life be like a fine wine, tasty, sharp, and clear. And like a fine wine, may it improve with every passing year. Salute.
Salute. Eugene Decaro, a Saugus veteran and lifelong resident. He grew up in the area, and he had so many wonderful stories to share. And probably, again, on a solemn day, we like to remember the names, the ranks, and their stories. And Gene had no shortage of those stories, and actually got quite emotional talking about some of his friends from the past and comrades that he served with so valiantly that did not make it home. And as we say, every veteran does one of the craziest things anybody could do on this planet, Joe. They sign a blank check to Uncle Sam. Sometimes Uncle Sam will give that check back completely uncashed. And in other times, it's cashed in full. And that is the last full measure of resolve for all of our armed forces, the men and women that put their lives on the line every single day for this country. And we remember those fallen heroes here on Memorial Day.
Very well put. Very, very well put.
So again, folks, if you'd like to come down and join us for this parade, you have probably about T-minus at this point, but at the Riverside Cemetery, there is still plenty of parking. There is still plenty of spaces to set up. The police are on scene. They're going to be setting up the stoppages shortly as the parade makes its way up Central Street and right here over to Winter Street, where we will proceed into the cemetery, and then everyone will gather around the War Memorial, and we'll have that very special ceremony by Commander Steve Castanetti.
What an amazing turnout right now, and they're still piling in. I can't get over how the streets are lining up, and this is just an awesome, awesome display of affection for our veterans today.
They deserve all the patriotism we can give them, and as the parade rolls through, we will do our best to introduce each one to you, the listeners, the viewers on Saugus TV, and of course everybody listening at home on 1510 AM, 101.1 FM out in the Quincy area, online at WMEXBoston.com, and on the WMEX app, which I'm happy that everybody has found that so easy, because normally folks don't feel so technologically inclined, Joe, as we know, but how many people just today have we been able to show, no, it's very easy, 1, 2, done.
Exactly.
And now you've got WMEX wherever you want to go.
We've made a lot of fans today, which has been fantastic. They've asked a lot of questions. They come right up to us. Some recognized us, knew who we were, which was actually very cool. Others are now new to the family, and we welcome them.
Absolutely. And the best part about that is we're all here today for the same reason, and that is to pay homage and honor the honored dead. That's really what this day is all about. And again, as the parade gets closer, we're going to check in one more time and a final time here with the Veteran Service Officer, Paul Cancelleri. He's got one more very important story to share.
Ben, thank you very much. I'd kind of like to conclude this conversation with a short poem by Father Dennis Edward O'Brien of the United States Marine Corps. His poem has been read often, sometimes in Congress, sometimes in schools, and sometimes at gatherings at Memorial Day. Father O'Brien's poem reads, "It is the soldier, not the reporter, who has given us the freedom of press. It is the soldier, not the poet, who has given us the freedom of speech. It is the soldier, not the campus organizer, who has given us the freedom to demonstrate. It is the soldier who salutes the flag. It is the soldier beneath the flag, and whose coffin is draped by the flag, who allows the protester to burn the flag." President Ronald Reagan once said, addressing the Phoenix Chamber of Commerce in March of 1961, "Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We did not pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. Or one day we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like in the United States, where men were free." Ben, thank you again for giving me the opportunity to share a few stories of some terrific troops and some terrific leaders who fought for our freedom this morning on Memorial Day. Thank you, Ben.
And thank you once again, Veteran Service Officer Paul Cancelleri, with some amazing words for our veterans and for the people, for which we are all so grateful for their service and their sacrifice. Joe, this day is brought to you in part by Wind Waste Innovations. They're actually going to be one of the first trucks in the parade as well. They are showing off one of their brand new, state-of-the-art, all-electric dump trucks. And I had a chance to see it very briefly as we were getting ready, departing from the Anna Parker Playground, but absolute unit of a dump truck. I don't know how else to say that, folks. And again, really thank you to Wind Waste Innovations for helping promote and put on and sponsor this Memorial Day parade. We can't do it without our sponsors, and they are so ingrained in the community, making sure that everything is staying clean. Nobody notices the trash man until the trash man stops rolling up.
Right.
And then everybody notices real quick. So to have that service in the community of Saugus, it just helps out everybody so very much. And I also want to say thank you to Clean Joe Restoration Services out in Revere. Just because it's Revere, there's still good neighbors here.
Of course.
And they are all over the community as well. If there's a fire, if there's a problem in the home, carpentry issue, Clean Joe has got you covered. And again, folks, these are not just commercials. These are not ads. These are our partners. These are the folks that helped pay for this event today so that we, the people, could gather and enjoy the important part of the day, which is remembering the veterans.
We need those sponsors, and we need more sponsors all the time. And if you have a service member in your family that you want to dedicate to this is a perfect opportunity to be able to get out there and talk to us, get us involved, and get yourselves involved, your company, and partner up with events like this, and with the radio station, and with Saugus TV. We need help from everybody in order to do it, and it's a great way to bring the community together.
It really is. And then we can also say things like at the conclusion of the ceremony today, the general public has been invited to the Saugus VFW just off of Main Street, where we're going to have another get-together to honor the veterans even further. We're going to say that a lot today, folks, because that is the point of today, is to remember those that are no longer with us. Joe, I know your family, you said you have veterans throughout the whole experience. Tell us a little bit about your father who served in Vietnam.
So my father served in Vietnam in the Navy, and he was commissioned on the USS Intrepid. And the Intrepid, anybody that knows, it's the aircraft carrier that is actually been decommissioned and been bought, and now it is a museum in New York Harbor. They actually had to dredge the harbor in order to get it to go in there, and it sits there now as a museum and a tribute to all the troops and people that served on board. And he served on board. He was on the flight deck. He was an electrician on board too, but he helped bring the planes in and let the planes take off too up there, and served very, very well during the Vietnam War.
Wonderful. And thank you on behalf of your father for his service. And of course, no easy task on those aircraft carriers. They might be state-of-the-art. They might be the biggest thing going in the ocean. That doesn't make them any safer than any other runway in the world.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
I don't know if you've ever seen a zip line fail, folks, but it is not an experience that you should want to be a part of.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Again, thank you for your father's service and sharing that story with us. The same for myself. Both of my grandfathers served. My grandfather on my mother's side served in the National Guard for many, many years here stateside, making sure he was a mechanic, made sure everything that went over there was working in tip-top shape, and that was always a good thing, of course.
Important.
Got to have those things working, that is for sure. And my grandfather on my father's side was a Marine. He was stationed in Cuba, and my goodness, thank goodness that didn't go the way that it was on paper, but still he was there, and we gave thanks. Both of them have since passed on. I'm assuming your father the same.
No, he's still with us.
Thank God. All
He's
right.
still with us, yes.
Excellent.
I want to get him back on the ship.
Let's get him.
We got to get him back on the Intrepid one more time.
We should do that. We can also start locally down in the South Shore. I know that's a little bit closer to where you're at. The USS Salem, the United States Naval Shipbuilding Museum, open for the season as well. And if you are a veteran and you want to bring your family, I'm pretty sure they open that up free to the veterans.
I've spent many, many days on the Salem, many nights on the Salem. My son was in the Cub Scouts at the time, and they always have the sleepover encampments with the Scouts. Being able to walk the ship and walk around, it was an incredible experience. Later on in the evening, we got, myself and a couple of the other dads got a little private tour because, of course, they claim it's haunted, which is pretty cool. And we got down into a lot of the spots of the ship that a lot of people don't get to see. And to be able to walk that and see how they lived and how you would live, even the bunks, crash into the bunks at that. It was quite an experience. But yes, we have that right in Quincy, and then you've got down Battleship Cove, you've got submarines, you've got destroyers, there's all kinds of different vessels that you can visit, and it's just such an experience to see.
Oh yes, and don't forget Big Mammy, she's down there too.
That's right.
A reigning champion, we shall say, of the battlefield and of the high seas. And again, we bring this up, folks, because this is our way of honoring the veterans that served and have since passed on. Of course, as years go on, we have fewer and fewer, especially of their World War II, our Korean War veterans. Really can't say enough to that indomitable spirit, especially from the World War II, the greatest generation. They had no idea what they were truly getting into.
Correct.
All they knew is that America needed them now. And without any hesitation, right to the enlistment office.
They were lying on their birth certificates to join. I mean, think about that for a second. The amount of pride and patriotism that they had to want to go in knowing they were underage, doing what they felt was their civic duty and this is what this country was built on. Without them, we would not even be close to where we are right now.
Not even. And as Selectman Corrine Riley said when she was talking about her father, he turned 17 and he tried to get permission from his father, absolutely refused, turned 18, and, well, you can't stop a man at that point. There's no way around that one. But, you know, not to be forgotten, there's so many unsung heroes that I hate to say get left under the radar, but it is true. And I definitely want to mention the Nurse Corps. There is no one more appropriately selected than the Nurse Corps, that were the first women to become enriched into military service like that, and then also getting those full benefits as they deserve. It took a little while, but finally Uncle Sam and the United States Congress agreed they should have gotten their full benefits a lot sooner, but I'm happy that it happened at least.
Absolutely. Now think of how many lives they saved along the way. So, I mean, you know, we pay tribute today to the lives that we lost. Without them, there'd be a lot more people that would be paying tribute to today. So their importance in everything that went on can't be forgotten.
And of course, to our Vietnam veterans, as we start to hear some of the sirens roll in, we'd be remiss if we did not mention about the Agent Orange and all the new benefits that have become available to the veterans that have been exposed to the burn pits recently, the Vietnam era, the Agent Orange, all the other horrifying chemicals that were transported, used, however it may be. And some of those veterans did not see those effects until years down the road. And of course, there was no help at that time. So many of these veterans suffered unnecessarily. And now Uncle Sam trying to do the best thing that he can do is trying to take care of those families with the financial compensation that was so very due and owed to them.
Absolutely. And you know what? It doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you stand on. The veterans don't see one side of the aisle or the other. They go straight up the middle, and we need to take care of them no matter what side you're on.
That's right. They see the red, the white, and the blue.
That's it.
Well said. Folks, it looks like the parade is just about entering the intersection here, coming up in a moment. You can hear the sirens behind us, and as each unit passes through, we will do our best to give you the who, what, when, why, where. There is plenty of folks coming through here today, and the Saugus police escort vehicles, the military veterans, Win Electric trash trucks should be leading the way here shortly. And again, thank you very much as everyone on their feet. The first few cruisers now making their way through, and we're going to go ahead and get our crowd mic involved here. Joe, again, this is a day to remember the fallen veterans, and that's exactly what everyone here is going to do. So let's go ahead and get this for you. First and foremost, the classic police cars. Joe, this is a special unit right here.
It's got the bubblegum lights right on the top. It's like something right out of Adam 12.
Car 58. Where are you?
Right.
Car 58.
Is it 58 or 54?
54. I
We're
thought it was
both too young
maybe it's
for that
54.
anyway, so-
I remember Nick at Night reruns, so that's all I got to go on right now.
Me TV. Here we go.
Oh, goodness. So again, in wave one here, we are getting the Saugus Police Department. They are well represented here today, as well as in the parade, but also along the parade route, making sure that everybody is getting the opportunity at a safe celebration here Memorial Day.
Exactly.
And again, the Saugus PD, the commander's car, with a red, white, and blue flag right out front. Thank you. There you go. Folks, make no mistake, we are street side. We are right here on the corner. We are going to be able to tell you exactly who, what, when, where. Car 66, there we go.
66.
That is an absolute beauty, a Galaxy
The
500.
Yeah.
Wow, that is beautiful. In the black and white with a white stripe on the back and the 8-foot antenna, an absolute beauty. And here's that Win Waste Innovations truck.
Wow.
If you want to see this, folks, go to win-waste.com. You cannot miss this one, folks. That is huge. Joe, look at the size of this rig. You could fit 4 dumpsters in that thing.
Right?
Of course, the junior ROTC color guard from Revere High School right behind them.
Yeah, the Marine ROTC. This is excellent.
Cannot go wrong here, folks. And marching appropriately in memoriam. Behind them from Beantown Enterprises is the media truck. And this is a truck that has a rolling screen on it showing images of not only the Riverside Cemetery, but the veterans that we've lost recently.
That's amazing. It looks great.
Beantown Enterprises, Lloyd Sales from the U.S. Army, KIA, the Battle of the Bulge.
Wow.
The Grand Marshal's coming through now, and that is a beauty of a truck. Jack Klecker with Dave Graham in the 1929 Model T.
That's a Model A.
What's the Model A?
That's a Model A.
Yeah, you aren't kidding. Gold Star Wives of America, well represented here today. Joe, I don't even know what that is.
Right?
That is a beautiful Cadillac, I'll tell you that.
I'll tell you that is something.
It says 1440. It's close enough to 1510. We'll take it.
I'll take it, yeah.
World War II reenactors with the active duty troops and the Saugus veterans, the AL, the DAV, the VFW, all being represented here. We have some World War II paratroopers, 3 of them, as they discharge their rounds. Absolutely
Boy, the costumes are something.
Yeah, this is a kid who's got a shell casing.
Right,
That's
there
too
you go.
short.
Just don't bring it to school.
Now that's a
all.
souvenir. Yeah, don't bring that to school, please. Please don't do that. More veterans vehicles coming through. That is a transport. Looks like a half a Warthog, and it's a Dodge, baby. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
That's right.
Representing the female veterans as well. And the Saugus Veterans Council coming through at the moment. And the Boy Scouts showing their true colors here today. Also have the USO van, the auxiliaries coming through right now. And we are waiting on the marching band, just rounding the corner right now. Look at this car right here, Joe. What do we got?
That's a GTO. That looks like probably a 64.
That's a 64
That's
GTO.
what it looks like it could be.
And it's got some veterans in it that couldn't be more proud to be riding shotgun in that baby.
Exactly.
Purple Heart Combat Wounded Veterans, well represented here today. Thank you. They are riding right through here on WMEX. Yes. Lynn Public High School, the marching band, dressed in their all black with the gray trim. Always good to see a local marching band. Commander Steve Casanetti. Commander, a great day so far.
I'm going to hang out here and spend some time with you guys while the rest of the parade goes by.
You're more than welcome to do so, sir. We're honored to have you.
Thank you.
And while you're here, let me give you this right here so you can join in the conversation. If you want to tell Steve, Commander Steve Casanetti joining us now, and who do we have in front of us here, sir?
These are the veterans from the Soldiers Home in Chelsea. We had a busload come from Chelsea this morning, and all in wheelchairs, but they came out for this beautiful day and memorial parade, you know?
Absolutely wonderful to have them out here. And it's glad to see the Soldiers Home back in good standing. They had a rough couple of years there, but they're back and better than ever.
And they're still coming from Korean War, and my old shipmate over here.
What an honor to have them here with us today, and look how much fun they are having.
They're having a great time, and it's a perfect day, too.
Oh, you couldn't ask for a better day.
The weather is absolutely on our side. And on Saugus TV, we are live here once again, as well as WMEX, and Commander Steve Casanetti joining us for a few moments here. At least we're happy to have you as long as we do.
Thank you.
Saugus Senior Center now rolling through.
The Senior Center bus is kind of our taxi cab back and forth between the points to drag people in and out. He's been running back and forth all morning. They do a great job for us.
They really have. We've been watching him since about 8 a.m. this morning, back and forth about 500 times, and that's on a good day.
He never misses. He's here every year.
Bless him. Now we have the Hingham Militia for the very first time here in Saugus, and I believe they're going to stop right in front of us and do a celebratory volley in honor of the veterans. This is wonderful. 3 flags. I see 4 or 5 muskets, 2 drummers, and they're going to stop right in front of us, I do believe. Captain Tim Perkins leading the way, and they're preparing to load.
Just to not stop.
They're going to do it right in front of us here. Hopefully we catch it. Well, they're a little beyond us now, but that's okay.
And then we have the Daughters of the American Revolution coming through.
DAR, an honored unit, and we're happy to have them here as well. And they have a whole wagon with them. That's wonderful.
Hey, the whole trailer's set up with everybody.
This is the Parson Roby chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. And there's the musket fire of the militia. An absolute pleasure to have them here today with us, the Daughters of the American Revolution. And look at this little fella in uniform right here. I love those patriotic blues and the red trim with the black hat and the white trim around him. And look at he's got the kerchief going too.
I love it.
The Lynn English Marine Corps Junior ROTC program. And Commander, this is another one of these great units that has been so instrumental locally.
They're under the command of Sergeant Major Beto. Right here following them up.
Doing a great job. They look fantastic. The ROTC program is so good. Back when I was in Quincy, I was part of the Air Force ROTC. I was actually one of the Navy cadets too in Quincy, which was actually, the cadet building was right around the corner from where we did the boxing with Granite Chin.
No kid.
Yes.
And now here comes the rest of the, I believe this is still the Junior ROTC.
Yeah.
Yep.
And tell us a little bit about those weapons that they're carrying, Commander.
Well, obviously the ceremonial weapons, but like the old M16s. And they have a rifle squad that enters into competitions, and they've been winning competitions for years all over the country.
Wow.
They do an outstanding job at Lynn.
Talking about who we have in front of us here.
You have you've got the fire department from Saugus. I don't see too many of our police department today, but behind the fire department, you have all of our local politicians. You have Senator Brendan Drake, Representative Donald Wong, Representative Jessica Janino, Board of Selectmen in Saugus, the town manager, school committee.
Huge thanks to all of them for their part here today.
This is the McGann marching band following them.
Makes the patriotic hairs in the back of your neck stand straight at attention.
And then you get the Lions Club.
And they have actually brought the Golden Lion.
Yep. And they always try to make the parade. They've had a couple of issues over the years where they didn't make it, but it looks like they're back in full force right now.
They sure are, in Old Glory, waving proudly along. Hey, we just got lollipops.
Yeah, we did.
All right. It's been a while since that's happened. It did happen, folks. Here at the Saugus Veterans Council Memorial Day Parade, the Lions Club well represented here today.
Now we have the Elks Club following. This is the Saugus Everett Elks.
And a wonderful trailer here. They've got the Hoop Shot Soccer Shoot. They do a wonderful job here. The Elks Association, of course, all across Massachusetts, but
they're very active in Saugus as well.
And their drug awareness programs, of course, at the forefront of everything they're doing. For more information, you can find elks.org and find out more. Saugus Everett Lodge of the Lodge 642, following up behind them as is good support. And now here come the
Revere High School Junior ROTC. And Major Balker is in charge of this group, and she sends me like 100 kids every parade. She does a tremendous job in Revere.
Look at the turnout.
Look at the kids coming through here.
And look at, folks, again on the radio, I know you can't see this, but their lines are perfect. They're in perfect symmetry. Their ranks unbroken and in unison. There has got to be at least 75 kids here.
I think she said 78. She said this.
I was
You were
close.
right.
Which
I
is
was
a smaller
close.
crowd than usual. It's usually over 100.
Wow.
Those gig lines, nice and straight, right? Just how we like them.
Absolutely wonderful to have them here with us today. And of course, their support vehicle right behind them. Here comes some more marching band. Let's see who we have here with us.
This is the Saugus High School band.
Already in wave 3 of the parade, and look at these uniforms with the
I
black
was just going to
bands,
say that.
the red stripe with the white trim going down the sides of the leg, and the shirts. They look almost like hockey jerseys with the red base and the triangular tip on the shoulders with the red and black trim.
Direction of Justin Jones, who's playing the drums in the back.
Go get it, buddy.
And we've got the Boy Scouts and the Cub Scouts.
Everybody was a scout at one time in their life, and a tried and true moment in every young person's life. Reach out today to find your local
Our
troop.
military vehicles, one of them broke down way at the beginning of the parade.
No.
You're just catching up now. They actually towed the one that broke down.
They're not playing. That is one heck of an armored transport, and whether that thing's running or not, she looks beautiful.
This is the one that broke down during the parade.
Well, that wasn't even the one we set had the tire. That was that little
Yeah,
row.
and you get your Girl Scouts.
Saugus Girl Scout Troop 67718 being well represented here. And of course, they do so many wonderful things in the communities besides supplying us with a year's worth of cookies all at one
I was
time.
just going to say,
Just what I need too.
I'll take 8 boxes while we're here. I'm not even playing.
That's why the uniform gets tighter every year.
We all make sacrifices, and it's all for a good cause because they are a great cause. And right behind them, we've got the Saugus Little League and some more youth groups behind
Yep,
them.
you've got soccer. You got a whole bunch
Yeah,
this year.
look at them. Softball.
I see the Storm in their purple jerseys with the lightning strike.
Those are pretty cool
Got
looking.
the-
The hot shots behind
Yeah,
them
the-
with the fire and flames on them.
I like the flamingo jerseys here, a pink, white, and black
Yes.
trim going on. They got the hot shots with a matching red, black, and white trim. And these kids are so excited. These are the moments here, Steve, I'm sure you'd agree. These are memories that these kids will bring with them for the rest of forever.
I remember back when I was that age marching in parades every year. I loved marching in parades. As a Cub Scout, a Boy Scout, you name it, I was in parades all the time.
Right there with you.
Still doing it at this age.
I was gonna say, we're still here today. But you know, the memories never change. It's just a transition from, man, that was fun, to, wow, we gotta make sure that this continues. We need to make sure that everybody, every child in Saugus has the opportunity to be here and to remember the reason that we're here, most importantly.
Honestly, this year we've got a much better turnout with the kids. A couple of the guys in my council put the pressure on and really focus on getting kids out. And we've never had these kids before. This is awesome.
Well, we got to thank all the volunteers, all the parents,
Yeah.
anybody who coaches, and really, got these kids to this point today. Without them, these kids wouldn't be here.
true.
You know what I mean? And then to be able to learn what this day represents and what this is about, and have them gather like this today, the memories that will last forever.
And of course, they're still young, so we try to hide the real world from the children, as anyone should, really. But this is a day where they will look back and they'll say, why were we here at this parade? And one of their parents will tell them, this was the Memorial Day parade. This was the day we all gathered. And yes, we had a lot of fun. But we had an opportunity to remember the veterans that fell and the ones that are no longer with us.
Yep, that's what it's all about today.
Looks like we still have some more junior ROTCs from the local high school here. I'm trying to take a look at their flag. These are more youth groups rolling through right now, and excellent.
Veterans Memorial.
You get the PVDJ ROTC color guard here as well.
Looking sharp and standing at attention.
Under the direction of Master Sergeant Lanning.
And
And
there's
now we've got a lot of our, looks like our vintage vehicles
Oh, this
trucks, cars. We got everything in the parade today.
This is the part where all the veterans smiling down on us today are really watching, because let's be honest, the classic cars, what better way to pay memory?
You're not kidding. And you saw the 1929 Model T, right?
Yes.
At the beginning of the parade.
Oh my goodness, what a
The
beauty.
guy that owns that, his name is David Graham. He's from Marblehead. He's only the second owner of that vehicle, fully restored.
No kidding.
Wow.
That went by me. I actually thought it was a Model A. It's a Model T.
Model T, yeah.
Unbelievable, beautiful ride. And here's the Massachusetts Pink Patch Project Cruiser, an all-black cruiser with pink bars, pink lights, pink trim. Find out more at Mass Pink Patch Project.
We have Elvis Presley driving this car.
Look at that. Elvis with a honky tonk band, one of the two.
It could be either or. He certainly looks like the king. Let's see if he sounds like the king. What a beauty. You just don't see too many cars like that anymore. We will never forget the POWs.
All these vehicles are put together with this gentleman here, Guy Moley, goes out of his way every year. Brings all kinds of vehicles in.
And we have the Saugus Housing Authority well represented. Look at this thing. We got the Spider
T-Rex.
and the service dog with him. That's beautiful. And we have to say, remember the service animals as well. There are hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of dogs, horses, pigeons, cats, parakeets, you name it.
We got them all.
We got them all. Look at this Monte Carlo S5. Look at that.
That's like an 85, 86 Monte Carlo. Look at that. Lightning McQueen just showed up.
That is the Lightning
Look at
McQueen.
that.
I've never seen one of these before in real life. How did you get that here at the parade?
That is dynamite.
Guy Moley does it.
He did a fantastic
I don't know where he
job.
gets them all, but he gets them.
Well, he sure got them. 95 in red with the lightning strike and the flames in the back. Lightning McQueen. We got a few top of the hour here at WMEX. And of course, here the Skittles truck coming through.
Ex-girlfriend.
Wow, look at that.
That's great.
And again, I know a lot of folks listening on the radio right now, tough to articulate, but some of these vehicles come to, these are the Jeeps now.
Jeeps, yeah.
This one is inscribed with
He told me there was going to be a lot of Jeeps in the parade this year.
Wilhelmina.
The Jeep clubs are huge. I've actually owned 12. I have my 12th Jeep that I've had, so it's an addiction.
We'll have to get you in here next time, Joe.
Absolutely. Mine not as fancy as these, though.
The Harry. This is called this one the blue truck.
Yep.
Part of the Skittles entourage.
Sweet
Georgia in the black and yellow truck. That is beautiful. They've got the Penguin Uncle Sam inflatable out the roof. Wow, these Jeeps are not playing around.
No, they're not at all.
This is amazing.
This one's all decked out. USS Dwayne. Here, of course, a gray Jeep Wrangler Unlimited. No doors and red, white, and blue from top to bottom.
You got the patriotic duck on the top of that one.
Gotta love it. Happy Memorial Day to the... Gee, I love some of these creative names. I wish I could pronounce some of them.
Yeah.
We have a partially
Thank
inflated
you for coming
duck.
today.
Folks, we are again standing here right on the corner of Winter Street and Central Street as this parade continues through. The bubble machines are about to
here
come
comes the
at us.
bubbles. You can't have a parade without bubbles,
And
right?
Commander, I know you got to get to the ceremony spot relatively soon, but tell us a little bit about that ceremony and what folks should be expecting.
Well, today we remember. I told you yesterday that's the word I use every year for Memorial Day. Remember. We're here to recognize, remember, and thank those that died in service so that we could be doing what we're doing today.
That's right.
Today we have our national anthem is being sung by Catherine Parada from Fox 25 in Boston. She's originally from Saugus and she's got a phenomenal voice. And she'll be doing the national anthem. Our keynote speaker is Captain Dean Peterson, who's a retired Navy captain and from the Chaplain Corps. So we'll have a big crowd down at the cemetery where we set up. We stand behind every single grave. we hold the flag, and we just remember and honor all of those that made the sacrifice, in addition to all of those that served and have passed on at a later date. So we'll have a good crowd, and we should have a great ceremony today, and the weather has cooperated again.
Mother Nature is owed a real big thank you for this one today. I can't imagine she would have had it raining on the veterans today.
This looks like the end of my parade right here with the Broco oil truck. So I'm heading to the cemetery.
Commander, we will see you over there. Thank you very much for joining us here live on air.
Thank you.
And again, folks, this is the Saugus Veterans Council Memorial Day Parade. We are going to throw it to a commercial break here at the conclusion of the parade. And when we rejoin you, we'll be live over in the cemetery getting ready for that speech that Commander Casnetti was just telling us about. Joe, you're going to hang tight here, but some final words from you on the broadcast for being here today and getting to share this opportunity with the American people.
This was such an honor and such something so different than I've ever done before. And I can't thank WMEX, you, the commander, everybody here at Saugus TV for having me here, having me be able to at least join in on the event. And man, what a great day it is. And thank you guys so much. Don't forget, please, hug and kiss all your veterans, your kids, everybody in your family, because, you know, this is what it's all about today. We need to remember.
Very true. Joe, thank you so much for being here with us today. Appreciate you, my friend. You're a true good guy. And folks, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll be live heading over to the Riverside Cemetery for the second half of today's program. Here live on 1510 WMEX, 101.1 FM Quincy, online at WMEXBoston.com, and Saugus TV.
First of all, what a great day. I don't want to jinx myself, but every year we seem to luck out with the weather, and today's certainly no exception. I want to thank all of you for being with us today as we remember all of those who made the ultimate sacrifice during all of our wars. In addition, those who have passed since serving. Parade the colors. Everyone standing behind or in front of a grave, please take the flag out, lift your flags, and I'm calling forth our chaplain, Lieutenant Colonel Bob LaRoe, U.S. Army retired, the chaplain of our Saugus Veterans Council. I was looking for him, he's in camis, I didn't see him. Uncover.
One of the unique things about World War I, the Great War, as it was called, was soldiers far more educated than ever before. The primary media was books and newspapers. Widely read armies went to the trenches with books and writing materials. Poetry was very popular, and this resulted in an enormous amount of war poetry. The thousands of poems from the battlefields reported on the hardships and horrors of war. Some soldier poets became noted authors. Canadian soldier and physician John McCrae penned the most famous poem of World War I, and some of you probably know it by heart. He speaks for those slain in Belgium of their sacrifice, and he calls the living to carry on the struggle. In Flanders fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row by row, that mark our place and in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields. Let us pray. Lord of hosts, we stand surrounded by flags atop the graves of patriots on this hallowed ground. We recall the ultimate price paid for freedom. You have shown us how sacrifice and loss precede liberty. Our thoughts go with those who bravely died to preserve our world from barbaric terrorism and hatred. May our American model of liberty and tolerance, governed by fairness and equality, impress all who live under various forms of tyranny and oppression. Lord God, we honor our fallen military, men and women, and we personally commit to keeping the cause for which they died alive and well. In your strong and mighty name, amen.
Amen. Cover. 2. Thank you, Chaplain. And I know she's no stranger here, but Catherine Parada joined Boston 25 News as a general assignment reporter in March of 2012. I went through her whole bio a couple of years ago, so I'm not going to do it again. I'm not telling you where she lives. So I'm going to call Catherine forward to sing our national anthem. Catherine. And salute.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
2. Thank you very much, Catherine. Awesome job as usual. You're going to have to come back every year from now on. I'm not going to call you. Just come back. I want to welcome everybody here today. I want to welcome the families of the fallen. I want to welcome all of our veterans. And if for those of you that come every year, you've noticed that this year we had a lot of new groups in the parade. I stepped off at Veterans Park. It's the first time I've seen the parade in probably 15 years, because when you're at the beginning of it, you don't see any of it. So we're here for a reason. As I said before, this is the day we remember all of those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. Unfortunately, it's Memorial Day, and it should be Memorial Day every day, but it's not. So today we make the best of it. We come out to honor our fallen with a ceremony here at Riverside Cemetery. I want to recognize some of our dignitaries and guests that are with us today. Senator Brendan Creighton. Right, Brendan. If you want to say a couple of words, you're more than welcome. Okay. I know Donald does. Representative Donald Wong. Representative Jessica Giannino. Chairman of the Board of Selectmen. Where are you, Deb? Oh, she's hiding. She's still playing with that dog or what? Debbie had a little misfortune today. She was patting a dog before the parade, and apparently the dog didn't like it and bit her, so she has to go to the hospital as soon as she leaves here. I tried to get her to go when it happened, but she had to be here for Memorial Day, so get that hand taken care of. The Board of Selectmen, is Jeff here? I didn't see Jeff, right? Jeff Ciccolini, Anthony Cogliano, Corrine Riley, and Mike Serino. We have our town manager, Scott Crabtree, chairman of the school committee, Vinnie Serino, the school committee, John Hatch, Ryan Fisher, Tom Whitridge, and Stephanie Mastrocola. Our police chief, Mike Riccadelli. I don't know if he's here or not. Fire chief, Mike Newberry. We have a veteran service officer, Paul Cancelleri. For those of you that don't know Paul, he's in the town hall. Go see him if you need help with claims or anything else. In addition, we have some other guests today. It was 80 years ago that Staff Sergeant Arthur DeFranzo was killed in action. Staff Sergeant Arthur DeFranzo is Saugus's only, I should say, Medal of Honor recipient. And he's buried right over here, the very well decorated grave. Please take a look at it. Joanne actually made a beautiful arrangement that you can't miss if you walk over that way. But I want to recognize members of the DeFranzo family that are here today honoring Staff Sergeant Arthur DeFranzo. Joanne Olson. A lot of you know Joanne from the Senior Center. She ran it for many years and did a great job. She's a niece of Staff Sergeant Arthur DeFranzo. We have a nephew, Gary Walsh. You guys can raise your hands if you want when I call your name so people can see you. Linda Call, a niece, and Pamela McDonald, a great niece. So thank you to the DeFranzo family for coming out today and making this a great Memorial Day. At this point, I want to have Veteran Service Officer Paul Cancelleri come forward to read the citation from the governor for Memorial Day.
To the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, a proclamation. Whereas, while the nation was still recovering from the Civil War, people in cities and towns across the country gathered to honor the soldiers who had given their lives, celebrating the first Decoration Day. And whereas, after World War I, the nation came together again to honor those who had fallen in the life of service of their country. Renamed Memorial Day, the last Monday in May is when people remember and honor the memory of all the men and women who fought and died in all American wars and conflicts. And whereas, throughout our country's history, thousands of Massachusetts residents have fought in wars and conflicts to defend our safety and way of life. And whereas their legacy of patriotism and dedication to country is an inspiration to all Americans. And whereas it is appropriate that all Massachusetts residents remember the bravery of those who gave their lives so that their sacrifices serve as a reminder of the cost of our freedom. Now, therefore, I, Mara T. Healy, the Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim May 27, 2024, to be Memorial Day, and urge all the residents of the Commonwealth to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance. By Her Excellency, Mara T. Healy, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Thank you, Paul. On July 14th of 1966, Captain Dean Peterson was commissioned in the United States Navy Chaplain Corps. He attended chaplain school in Newport, Rhode Island, served at Camp Pendleton, California, went to Vietnam, and served in Da Nang with the 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines, and also the 1st Hospital Company in Chu Lai. From there he was stationed in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, Little Creek, Virginia, Trenton Reserve Center, Providence, Rhode Island, Norfolk, Virginia, Naval Air Station South Weymouth, Mass, again back to Newport, Rhode Island, and finally in Providence, Rhode Island, where he retired in 1994. Ladies and gentlemen, our keynote speaker today is Captain Dean Peterson, Captain, United States Navy, Retired Chaplain Corps. Captain.
Thank you, Captain Castanetti.
You're welcome.
Good to see you.
You too.
Good afternoon, folks. The year is 1867. Judge Francis Finch has just finished breakfast. And on the table is the New York Herald Tribune. Judge Finch serves as the court in Ithaca, New York. His routine is breakfast, paper, courthouse. As he's going through the articles in the Tribune, one article captures his eyes and begins to burrow into his heart. It comes from a reporter that was in Columbia, Mississippi in April of '67. And the writer goes on to say that a group of women came to the cemetery on Decoration Day, and they were going to decorate the graves that were in that cemetery. And as they came into the cemetery, they looked around and they saw that there was debris by several of the graves. And before they took their flowers to the other graves, they removed the debris. They cleaned up the graves. And then they separated their flowers. And they placed the flowers on the graves that they had just cleaned up. And they placed the flowers on the graves that were all clean. And Judge Finch is reading this and wondering what is taking place. You see, these women, when they came in, were widows of Civil War soldiers. And the graves that they cleaned up were for the blue. But the flowers were placed on the blue and the gray. The judge went to the courtroom, but he had these words swirling around in his mind. What was that all about? Decoration Day in Columbia, Mississippi. It took some time, and over several weeks, the judge went to his desk and wrote words that had been burned into his heart. He eventually took those words and they became a poem. A poem that is found in the Atlantic magazine in 1868. I'm going to read two stanzas of it, the first and the last. By the flow of the inland river, whence the fleets of iron have fled, where the blades of grave grass quiver, asleep are the ranks of the dead. Under the sod and the dew, waiting for Judgment Day. Under the one, the blue. Under the other, the gray. No more shall the war cry sever, or the winding rivers be red. They banish our anger forever when they laurel the graves of our dead. Under the sod and the dew, waiting the Judgment Day. Love and tears for the blue. Tears and love for the gray. The poem entered into the life of the United States of America in a remarkable way. Fast forward to 2021, it's not that familiar anymore. We don't hear the poem, The Blue and the Grave. Judge Finch, in his courtroom, had to deal with issues of grand proportion and of minor character. But one thing that prevailed in the Finch's mind and in the heart was the word reconciliation. Hence the poem, The Blue and the Gray. What do we do with that word? Where do we keep it? Where do we share it? And this is the challenge we find in the world that we now occupy in the 21st century. Let me fast forward, though, just another bit. And that's to June 6th, 1944. 80 years ago, D-Day. 166,000 Allied soldiers, sailors, airmen were poised to make the largest amphibious landing that history has ever recorded. Just prior to daybreak, in the dark of the night, 13,000 paratroopers landed behind enemy lines. At 6:30, the Higgins boats were ready to make to the shore. And they did. And the ramps went down. And the soldiers and the Marines came out. And they ran. And they fell. And when the sun began to set, over 4,400 Allied troops were killed. Over 500 Allied troops were wounded. And that's just in the first 12 hours. The battle was intense. and the losses were immense. D-Day, it conjures up all kinds of memories for us as a nation. Steven Spielberg, in the movie Saving Private Ryan, captured some of that feeling that we had as a nation. And in 1998, Saving Private Ryan came out. My wife knew that I wanted to see that film, but she was very, very thoughtful. So one day, after supper, she said, "Would you like to see Private Ryan?" I looked at her, she looked at me, and she said, "It's okay." You see, my first duty assignment was with 3-7 in Vietnam. And I came back with stories. But she didn't hear any of them till I'd been back about 10 years. And when I was having a conversation with a friend, she said to me after the friend left, "I never knew that story." I said, "Oh, I've told you that story." "No, I never heard that story." And I looked into her eyes and I said to myself, "You have retained something that she wanted to share." We've been telling stories ever since. Not every night, not every month, but we've been telling stories. Spielberg gets at the notion of what it means to tell the story in this story. It's fictional. Captain Miller is not a real character. Tom Hanks is. Private Ryan is not a real character. But what is Saving Private Ryan? I think some of you know the story. The first 27 minutes of the film are the most carefully scripted scene of combat that the Pentagon has ever signed off on. And that night in the theater, when the film began to run and the Higgins boats were making it to the shore, my wife grabbed my hand and put her other hand over her eyes, and that lasted 27 minutes. The beachhead had been made. Now she could release her grip and open her eyes and see the rest of the film. And what's the rest of the film? It starts with Private Ryan as a 60-year-old at the American cemetery in Normandy. He and his family have gathered there. His wife is by his side. His grown children are just to the back of him. And she says, "Jimmy, it's okay. Just go up." And he does. And he goes up to the grave of Captain Miller, the one who was charged with the responsibility to get him back to the battalion area so that he could be sent home. And why? 3 of his brothers had been killed in combat. We're not going to have another family member die. For all of us in the naval community, we have a vivid memory of what that's all about. The Sullivan boys. They enlisted in the Navy January 3rd, 1942. They said, "We want to be in the same unit, all of us. Don't split us up." And they were assigned to the USS Juneau, a light cruiser. I will yell. The Juneau is a light cruiser, 687 officers and crew. And in November, off of Guadalcanal, They're torpedoed. They back out of the theater of operation and are now off of the Solomons, and they're hit again. And the ship goes down. And all 5 of the Sullivan brothers are killed. There are only 10 survivors of that moment. All of us in the military have a sense about, I don't mind being in the area, but I don't want my brother or sister to be in the combat area. Saving Private Ryan picks up that storyline. And Ryan doesn't want to go home. And Miller, being a captain, and Ryan being a private, came to an understanding. Ryan, you're going home. And the last thing that's put into that film in the mouth of Miller to this private is, "Private, earn it." That floats through the film. And it comes back to this cemetery when the older James Ryan is speaking to the gravestone of Captain Miller and says, "Sir, I think I've lived my life well. I think I have done well. I hope I have earned it." That question, that comment, have you earned it, rests with us all today. On this Memorial Day, as we decorate graves, may we be reminded of those that the inscription in Delhi, India, on a monument says, "They gave their today so that we could have a tomorrow." Ryan's question from Miller reverberates with that. Today, have we earned it?
Honor Guard Commander, take charge of the Honor Guard. I'll do it after this, all right? As we do every year, we remember our deceased comrades who have passed since last Memorial Day. And this year, we remember from the Veterans of Foreign Wars, Daniel M. Roden, John E. Roberts, Jimmy Marsh, from the American Legion, Ray King, Anthony Graffio, Richard Christopher, and Richard Garabedian. From the disabled American veterans, Richard Christopher again, and Jimmy Marsh as well. Detail, hand salute.
Aim, fire. Make ready. Aim, fire. Make ready. Aim, fire. Detail, attention.
2. I want to invite our Veteran Service Officer forward again for a special presentation. Paul, you got to speak up, Paul. No mic.
No mic. If I could call to the podium Mrs. D. Whittemore Ferris, Gold Star wife. Just stand over here. You can stand in front of the podium. This is the award. Open that up. This is the citation, but I'm not reading that citation. That's just her. No. Ladies and gentlemen, each year on Memorial Day, we honor the fallen. Today, the town of Saugus, Massachusetts, is recognizing one of our Gold Star wives by presenting the Medal of Fidelity. The Medal of Fidelity is among the first medals of its kind presented by the Commonwealth to recognize veterans who have lost their lives as a result of service-connected illness and injuries. The Medal of Fidelity, which complements the existing Medal of Liberty, is presented to the families of Massachusetts veterans who die of combat-related injuries. While similar to the Medal of Liberty, the Medal of Fidelity recognizes service-connected injuries, such as exposure to harmful substances like Agent Orange, Gulf War syndrome, and post-traumatic stress, or PTSD. The Medal of Fidelity recognizes the enormous toll of exposures during combat that may last many years beyond the battles. The medal also recognizes service-connected illnesses and injuries diminishing a service member's quality of life. The Medal of Fidelity represents our commitment to honor the sacrifices made by veterans and their families. Today, we present the Medal of Fidelity to Dee Whittemore Ferris on behalf of Dee's husband, Everett Fletcher Ferris, Specialist 5 of the United States Army, who passed away in June 2010 as a result of Vietnam service-connected wounds. Specialist Ferris served honorably from February 1966 to February 1969, completing a tour in Vietnam as a decorated veteran who served in the anti-tank company of the 169th Infantry Regiment. Captain Steve Castanetti from the United States Navy is presenting the Medal of Fidelity to Dee Whittemore Ferris. Dee is an active Gold Star wife in the Saugus community. Ladies and gentlemen, please honor the service and sacrifice of Specialist Fletcher Ferris, the United States Army. Thank you. bless. Thank you.
So another Memorial Day ceremony at Riverside Cemetery in Saugus comes to an end. But as I said in the beginning, every day should be Memorial Day. Please remember our veterans who have passed. Please remember those who gave their lives in service to our country. Before we go, a couple of things. The VFW would like to ask anybody that wants to come back to the VFW post on Main Street for a free collation. The only problem is parking. You have to park at Floor and Decor and walk over. If you have a handicap placard on your vehicle, you can park in the little lot behind the VFW. Do not park in Jay Pachi's parking lot, or it may not be there when you come out. I want to thank everybody today that came. I want to also thank all of my officers and the Veterans Council. As most of you know, I'm the commander of the Veterans Council. My executive officer is Bob O'Toole, United States Air Force retired. My chaplain, you all know Lieutenant Colonel Bob LaRoe. Jack Marino was my admin officer. Rick Fail, who did a bang-up job for this ceremony. It would not have been what it is without his effort this year. He's my operations officer. General Andrea Gale Bennett, Mass National Guard, retired. General, bring General up here. I love General. Bring him up here. I love that dog. She's my public affairs officer. Come on, show off your dog. Come on up here. What a great animal this dog is. John McCarter is my adjutant. Senior Chief Jack Klecker, who was our Grand Marshal today, is my recording secretary. Don Jacobs, the finance officer. Randy Bryant, who really hides, does so much you can't even imagine how much this guy does. Without Randy, we'd be in deep trouble. Nick Milo was the commander of the DAV Post 115. Keith McDonald is the incoming commander of VFW Post 2346. And John McCarter is the commander of the American Legion Post 210. I want to thank all of you that stepped up to help me out. Now, for those of you that don't know, today's parade and ceremony was broadcast live on WMEX Radio 1510 Boston. You may have seen him at Veterans Park when you came by. He's been promoting this all week. So I want to thank Ben Rabinovitz from WMEX Boston 1510 for doing what he did for us this year and making us very well known in the Boston area. I want to thank our major sponsor, Wind Waste Innovations. I want to thank Clean Joe Restorations. I want a special thanks to Captain Dean Peterson for his moving speech. I thank the families of our fallen. The Saugus Police Department did a great job out there for us today during the parade. Thanks to the Saugus Fire Department as well. I want to thank Beantown Advertising for the media truck. John Prudent, where's John? Behind the camera here. Folks, John is the guy behind that whole video that you see on that truck. So, without him, we would have been missing a big piece today. So if you haven't seen it, I want him to get that thing rolling again so that everybody can see it from the cemetery. Where's Soupy? Soupy, run over and... Then, you know what? When I'm done, put it back on then, all right? I want to thank all of the veterans that are here today. I want to thank Scott Elias, New England's best DJs and photo booths. All of the parade participants, I can't remember everybody. The junior ROTCs from Lynn, Salem, Peabody, and Revere. Guy Moley for what he does, bringing up the rear of that parade with all of those awesome vehicles. Guy does a tremendous job. He loaded us up with specialized Jeeps this year, and It was really impressive. I want to thank J&M Italian Cuisine. They provided all the pizzas free yesterday to everybody who was down here putting flags on all of these graves. Again, thank you to all who came out today to help us remember. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank my friend Gordon Shepard, who thought I was going to forget, because he loves the recognition for what he does, making this place look as nice as it does. He was actually watching the parade today, and I went over and pulled him off the wall he was sitting on and brought him into the parade to march down here, and he took about 4 steps and went back to the wall. So thanks for your effort, Gordy. When we exit the cemetery, please go up to the street. You can go out this way. At the top of the hill, take a right and remember our deceased comrades in the World War I section, the Civil War sections as you pass. Gordy also does a lot of work in those that don't get the recognition that this one does. And finally, last year, I ended with a short poem, and I thought it was worth repeating this year. It's called Dip the Colors. We dip the colors in honor today of the soldiers who said goodbye and marched away to defend their land beneath a foreign sky. We dip the colors to those who struggled under a native sun. It did not cease the strife of warfare until the battle was won. To all the soldiers who sleep today, who rest beneath the sod, we dip the colors and say a prayer and leave them to our God. Thank you all. Remember.